Stream us live at sauga960am.ca. You are listening to New Theory Radio.
And welcome to another edition of New Theory Radio, here live on News Talk Sauga 960 AM. My name is Nav Nanwa. I am your host, and this is the show where we theorize on all things current affairs, pop culture, and everyday life. And this is our special year-end edition of the show. Yes, 2019 is about to come to an end in the next few days. And I'm very excited because not only are we going to be joined by a whole bunch of guests for the next 2 hours and talking about all things 2019 when it comes to current affairs, pop culture, and everyday life, we're also having a bit of a pizza party here in the studio. So it should be fun. Should be quite the time. But yes, there's going to be a bunch of folks joining me, almost like the New Theory Radio All-Stars are going to be joining us. Actually, everyone who's ever been on the show is an all-star, but some people couldn't make it because obviously it's the holiday season. Some people are in studio with me right now and have made it, which I'm very grateful for. So we're going to be talking about a bunch of different things. And again, I'd love to hear from you guys as well. So hit us up on social media at New Theory Radio on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. I just posted on Twitter and on Facebook, and I'll post on the gram as well. And let us know some of your thoughts on the year that was 2019, whether it was something that you felt went very well this year, something that you felt didn't go well, who actually completely owned 2019, who took a major L in 2019. We can even throw some decade stuff in there as well. I know a lot of people like to reflect on the decades, so feel free to let us know some thoughts on that. You know, who was the artist of the decade? Everyone seems to think it's Drake. Maybe we'll talk about that later on the show. But yes, do hit us up or use the hashtag NTR year-end 2019, and we'll read some of those responses on the air. We're going to take a quick commercial break, and then when I come back, we're going to get things started here on this week's episode. It is the special year-end edition of New Theory Radio. You are tuned into Sauga 960 AM. We'll be right back after this brief commercial message. And we are back here on New Theory Radio on News Talk Sauga 960 AM. My name is Nav Nanwa. I am your host. And this is the show where we theorize on all things current affairs, pop culture, and everyday life. And you are tuned into, sorry, my producer extraordinaire Jyoti Banu just got me out of my element. You are tuned in to our special year-end edition of New Theory Radio. I'm super excited. We're gonna have a bunch of guests joining us for the next 2 hours to talk about 2019 and the year that was. What a crazy year we've had. Not only here locally in Peel, but I would say in the world. A lot of changes when you think about some of the big events that took place, some of the events that are taking place as we speak. Big events in media, entertainment, sort of everyday life, which we'll get into as well. You know, what were some crazy sort of life trends that people were acting on this year that, you know, really took shape in 2019. But, you know, we do touch on current affairs, pop culture, and everyday life. So I thought it'd be great to touch on current affairs in the year that was. And who better to join me in studio? I got, first and foremost, she interrupted me earlier, and now she's going to jump on as a panelist. Is this the first time you've been on the show, Jyoti? I think so.
I think so.
Yeah, you jump in every now and then just to
correct everybody.
Yeah, to correct everybody, to turn off mics when people are swearing.
Yes, of course.
That voice is Jyoti Banu, station manager extraordinaire for Sauga 960 AM, esteemed contestant on Dancing with the Stars Mississauga, who killed it.
Thank you.
Who, in my view, should have won, but we'll just keep it at that. that Taman also agrees as well.
Yes, she's jumping here.
And joining you is another individual who's very in tune with the community. He is a correspondent for, would you say, not just Mississauga News, for Brampton Guardian too, right?
Yeah, I'd probably just go with Crime Reporter.
Brampton Guardian,
Mississauga
Mississauga News. Whoa, so you had a busy year.
Yeah, we'll get into that.
It is my buddy Ali Raza, my classmate from Turner Fenton.
Yeah.
One of my homies. I was just telling Ali that I was watching Starsky and Hutch earlier on Much Music, and I think we went to that together. I think we went to see that in theaters.
I think so.
I remember like
A whole bunch of us went to go see it.
I remember growing up, we used to quote a bunch of those Ben Stiller movies like Dodgeball and Starsky and
You can
Hutch.
dodge a wrench, you can dodge a ball.
Exactly. And Ali actually was a guest in the initial iteration of New Theory Radio when this was a podcast before I jumped on Sauga 960. And happy to have you back. I've been wanting to have you back for a while.
Thanks for having me.
I know Ryan Gertran was wanting to have you on his show too. So maybe in the new year you can do him a solid and come on.
For sure, that'd be great.
But yes, Jyoti and Raleigh, I thought it'd be great to have you both on together. It's been quite the year. A lot of interesting developments when you think about Peel region and what's been going on from a current affairs standpoint. And first, I'll open it up to you, Ali, first. When you think about Peel, how would you describe 2019 and what this year was like for Brampton and Mississauga? Because for me, what really stands out is probably the increased crime that we've noticed. And you being the crime reporter, I'm sure you can comment on that.
I haven't noticed anything.
Yeah, actually, you've been pretty lax at your job.
Pretty tame. No. So this year and last year, we have had quite a few homicides, and I don't want to start with the grim note, but let's get the negative stuff out of the way first. But I think this year we're at about 30 homicides in Brampton, Mississauga, 13 of them related to domestic violence. And the reason why I bring that up is this year specifically, we had two tragic incidents that really kind of shook the community, and people really didn't understand why it happened. The first was the murder of 11-year-old Ria Rajkumar.
Yes, I remember that.
By her father. And then there was another a father killed two of his sons, Jonathan and Nicholas Bastidas. They were 12 and 9. And so it's really weird. I mean, it's not, no community wants to hear that, and it shakes everyone to the core when they hear that, children were killed. But it's something kind of we have to wrestle with as a community, kind of get to why that is happening. Law enforcement is working, social services, a lot of community groups are kind of working into what is it that causes these kinds of things, and then that's kind of what I hope we can get to the bottom of next year and the years to come. One positive I want to stand out though is actually two things. It goes without saying that Jagmeet Singh ran for Prime Minister as NDP leader. Now, I remember when I was kind of in high school growing up, you just mentioned high school, that I couldn't even, that if you told me that would happen, I wouldn't have believed you, right? So for a place like Brampton, Mississauga, Brampton's like 75% visible minority. Mississauga's around 54. So for all those youth growing up here thinking that, what am I going to do when I grow up? Well, the sky's the limit now, because you've seen that someone just like you just, ran for Prime Minister. So that was really cool. But the other thing, a little more local, is I'm sure we all know it was Guru Nanak's 550th anniversary. And that was widely celebrated. But it was also widely celebrated within the community that isn't part of adherents of Sikhism. And an example of that was, a portion of Peter Robertson Boulevard has been renamed Guru Nanak Street, I think, Guru Nanak Lane.
Yes.
And that was really cool. And then PAMA, Peel Archives and Museum, they have a whole exhibit going on. It's going on now too, and you can see like the full story of who, if you don't know anything about Guru Nanak, go in. You can see the full story, see from start to finish what the a lot of like old style art has been used to kind of show his story. And whether you're religious or not, I'm not a religious person, but it's still a really fascinating thing to me, and it's something that a lot of people in the community identify with. So that's kind of a positive I want to put out there, that's what we saw this year.
Jyoti, what about you being the station manager of Sauga 960 AM? Ali touched on some interesting points when you talk about the crime rate here, as well as the election, as well as also the street named after Guru Nanak. But, being the station manager, this is probably the first full year of Sauga 960 AM?
Yes, it is.
What were some things that stood out to you when it came to Peel and 2019?
Well, I think something that he's already touched on is the crime rate. If you look at the statistics from last year and the year before, 2018 and 2019, it's 2019 is getting a lot worse, and there's more crime rate. When it comes to international students, recently a taxi driver just ran over an international student, ran away, fled from the scene. This is very shocking. Maybe because I come from an Indian community, whereas back if something like this had happened, they would step forward saying, I made a mistake, let me take responsibility. But nowadays people just want to run from the responsibilities. Like if you hit someone, why do you have to escape? Why don't you stay at the scene, deal with the consequences? You did something where therefore you should be at the scene. You shouldn't be running away.
And that was actually this week, right? On
Yeah,
Christmas
this happened.
Day.
Yeah, Christmas Day. Like international students, I feel bad for them because they have to deal with so many other obstacles such as work, school, and coming from a different country, learning a different language, although they have to learn, they need to know English before coming to Canada. But having to come here, dealing with the struggles, that's something that I feel bad for them. And, I think part of being the Indian community, other people look down on them saying, you're from India, you should do this, you should do this. But instead of helping them out, they're always like shushing them, or not shushing them, just calling out their mistakes.
Yeah.
When their child makes the same mistakes, but then if their child were to do it, they just brush it under the carpet and be like, no, our kid is so good.
Yeah, international students. I'm glad you brought that up, Jyoti, because that was a huge sort of topic of discussion a lot this year. Like, I think was it this year where we saw that was it that hockey stick sort of gang video that was going around?
That was last year. It was during this time. Last year.
A year ago.
And then there was another event that happened in Surrey that some individuals got deported.
Yeah.
Right? And then I think in the beginning of December, there was two international students. One murdered the other one and then committed suicide. And then there was another international student whose body was found. Like, what's going on?
I don't know.
It's funny. I just want to add in. So there's this. I covered a story I think 2 weeks ago, and it was particularly grim, where a woman was found. A woman's body was found in what police said was her boyfriend's basement apartment, and her boyfriend had essentially, it was a murder suicide. He had, according to police, he had killed her and then killed himself. And I somehow got a hold of her friend, who, and this is like within 24 hours of her body being found, and she was basically just bawling her eyes out on the phone, and she didn't understand what was happening. Nobody understood anything. And I'm not going to get into the whole details, but what I got from that is that, like you mentioned, international students, a lot of them being from India, there's this culture that comes from India that's not quite trusting of police. And it's because obviously police in India isn't, they're not as, let's say...
Let's just say they're just corrupt.
Let's just say they're corrupt, yeah. And so I understand that.
Jyoti, aren't you going to India soon?
Yeah, I think I probably won't.
So there's a lot of that transition that it's hard to do. But I'm glad you mentioned international students, because it kind of comes into what I predict for like the next decade locally, because that's harder. How do you predict what's going on in Brampton, Mississauga locally? What I've seen in the last 10 years and what I can predict in the next 10 years is that you're going to get more and more international students, more and more new families, more and more immigration. By 2030, about 100% of Canada's population growth is going to be fueled by immigration.
100%.
100%. And we need to really think about what that means for immigrants coming from all over the country whose credentials aren't getting recognized, who need language training, who, won't understand, and I know like it's little cultural things that people really don't understand that you need to kind of explain to them or show them, or even involve them into something so that they feel like they're a participant and helps them understand. And so I would say Peel Region, Brampton, Mississauga, Ontario, Canada as a whole, within the next 10 years, they got to prep for that. They have to prep for that, the fact that we're going to have thousands and thousands and thousands of people coming to the country who want to build a better life here, and what are we doing to help them do that? So far, I don't know if we're doing as much as we can.
And I think that's a good point you bring up, Ali, because ultimately, I think there needs to be more in play regarding guiding these students and really like mentoring them. Yeah.
Well, this is where even though like I have, like you have, I'm sure everybody has cousins that coming from India and all these relatives that are coming in. It depends on the families. Like most like the amount of stories. So my parents own a TV and radio, Indian ethnic radio station, and amount of stories that comes through to my dad, and then he'll sometimes share it with me. Like family members will complain about these international students coming into their house and making a mess and chaos and all that sort of thing. It's like instead of helping them, these individuals decide to go on Facebook Live and posting videos.
Yeah.
It's like, what is that going to help you?
I'll tell you the contrast when there's like, if you're in a university town like London or KW or Guelph, and there's like a student house, full of people who aren't international students, and they, they're up till 5 a.m., they're rowdy, there's beer bottles everywhere, there's cigarette butts everywhere. Nobody really says anything.
No.
Does.
Their background, the fact that, that person might be from Kingston or that person might be from Windsor, that has nothing to do with the fact that you're upset that they made this mess in this house. But as soon as it's international students, we're blaming somehow that, it's something to do with their background. Well, is it really? Because I don't know
And
how
that's
that
what it
correlates.
is.
And the amount of stuff I've seen where it's people in our own community that are calling these students out. Like
Yeah.
I've seen, the biggest thing that I find challenging is when you see like our people from our parents' generation on social media that post and share a lot of this sort of propaganda. The amount of posts this year that I've seen where someone made a video of someone's house and they were showcasing the living conditions, and the comment was, another household ruined by international students. Like that's the type of blaming that you're seeing in our community that's not helping the situation.
But another thing is, like, this is where we're hypocrites. The reason why I say that is because, we hired these individuals on a less than a minimum wage. Minimum wage is what, $14?
Yeah.
And we're like,
While they pay exorbitant international fees.
Yeah. And they're like, okay, no. How about this? $10 an hour, you work these many hours and we'll give you in cash. And yet when stuff like this happens, they're the first ones to go on Facebook or social media posting these videos. It's like, you guys are the ones that are doing this, and then if they react in a different way, then you guys are going on social media. It's like, you can't have both ways.
Somebody complained to me that, international students in Brampton are driving Uber Eats and skip the dishes. And I'm like,
So?
well, what is it about their financial situation that's leading them to drive Uber Eats and skip the dishes? Like, why
They're
are you
working for it, though.
Why are you getting upset when people are working? That's the
They're
issue.
working for their money. It's like,
Exactly.
and then if they have cars or like, most of the time they have Mustangs, right? I've seen a lot of Mustangs. Well, international students are driving.
Yeah.
Dude, they're nice cars. I would drive one too, but I like my car when I'm driving.
I think I might have to pick up some of those Uber Eats shifts. Come on.
But they're all like, they're bringing money from their home. Their parents are like in debt, and they're saying all these kind of things. It's like, how do you know?
Yeah.
No,
Maybe they're well off. Maybe
Everybody's
they're
got
okay.
a completely different story.
Right?
Yeah.
So it's just, I don't know. I don't understand it. People.
Sorry, keep going.
No, I just one last thing I just gonna add with international students or with new immigrants it's the same kind of trend I've seen my whole life, is that we love your money but we don't like anything else about you.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's what it is.
Switching gears, I feel like we should do an entire theories on international students.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Episode in the future.
These are just brainstorming episode ideas.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
That's why I bring everybody on, so I can think of new content ideas for next year. One last thing I want to talk about. Brampton and Mississauga. A lot of talk this year about a split. Mississauga was for it. Brampton was against it. I feel like it kind of slowed down now because I think the Ford government flat out said no, they're not going to disband it.
Yeah.
Anything. Ali, when you started the year, you were actually a City Hall correspondent for the city of Mississauga. What are your theories? I actually posed this question on our socials.
Okay.
I actually asked the question straight up. Will Brampton and Mississauga get closer to a split in 2020?
Yeah.
And that means, and I'm not saying they're going to split for sure, but will there be some intervention from the Ford government? Will there be some further conversations that are going to eventually split the two cities up and Peel Region becomes no more? What are your thoughts and what are your theories on 2020 regarding this?
There's a lot of opinions about it, but I'm going to say the Ford government launched that kind of regional review of not just Region of Peel, but York Region, Niagara Region, Durham Region, all of those regional municipalities across Ontario. And the reason why they did that is they said, well, maybe there's some money to be saved here. Both the Region of Peel and the City of Mississauga kind of had commissioned their own reports showing exactly how much money would be saved in either the three scenarios, like making it a mega city, splitting the three, Caledon, Brampton, and Mississauga, or just leaving it as is. And it kind of showed that if you leave it as is and just find some efficiencies, you're kind of in a good spot. Amalgamating the three would be the most expensive option, and then splitting the three into their own independent kind of municipalities would be costly for Brampton and Caledon, as just due to population and how the tax revenue is calculated. But honestly, man, like this stuff's happened since like even before we were at Turner Fenton. Like I remember being like 12, 13 and this stuff was going on, and even before. The issue is that we it's not that they got to split or they got to be one. I think based on what I've seen is you want to find those efficiencies and you want to see where you can save money for taxpayers, because I mean the whole issue came down to what do you want to raise property taxes for people, and nobody wants to pay more property tax, right? And so, I mean, I don't honestly think anything will come of it. The government launched a review, and then that's kind of been dismissed. Everything's going to be as is. Maybe in a couple of years, maybe in a few years under a new government, they're going to bring the issue back up. But as it is, it's going to remain status quo.
Oh, Jyoti, what are your thoughts? You know, obviously here at Sauga 960 AM, despite our name, we cover both Brampton, Mississauga, and as well as Caledon. And Caledon feels like the forgotten stepchild.
Caledon's awesome.
Yeah.
But what do you think? You think we'll be close? I know this has been a deep topic of conversation when it comes to our shows that happen during the week.
Well, you know what? During that time when we were waiting for Mr. Ford to figure out whether we should be a separate city.
So formal,
I
Mr.
know,
Ford.
Mr. Ford, you know, give him some respect, man.
It's like BBC Radio.
Yes. But you know what? I actually did think about it. I was like, you know what? There are chances of Mississauga being separate from Peel region, which is a possibility with the amount of money that Mississauga is making. And it's strong. Financially, it is strong. It is supporting Brampton and Caledon. If you look at Mississauga, there's residential, there's commercial, there's businesses in there. And compared to other cities, I'm sorry, but Brampton is all residential. Even during the municipal elections, I had a chance to speak to Patrick Brown, and everybody kept saying, "Oh, we have land." It's like, I don't see any land. What land do you see that clearly that you could bring some business in? It's all residential. So if Mississauga were to be a separate city, I think Mississauga would do great.
Well, that's the point. The mayor's chief of staff, he kind of explained to me that if you look at similarly sized municipalities with the same population, they're all their own city, and they don't need regional kind of permission to do things.
No.
And then you made a really good point that Brampton is almost mostly residential land, and the small bit of land left, I think, is like between Mississauga Road and Winston Churchill near Georgetown.
And that's factories now. Amazon's taken over.
Yeah.
And it's just huge land with factories, and that's it.
And I think the city of Brampton kind of knows that the ratio is off when it comes to residential versus.
It's very off, man.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. And I think that's one of the reasons why Brampton does get the rep that it gets is people are like, there's nothing that happens in Brampton because all you see is houses.
Yeah.
If you look at any community in North America where there's a lack of employment options, if there's a lack of transit options, there's a lack of health options, there's a lack of educational options.
It's Brampton.
Well, and I'm describing Brampton, but this is you can see that there's
You just
a lot.
clearly said Brampton.
Yeah.
Loud and clear.
I am describing Brampton, but the reason why I'm doing this is there's a lot of communities in North America that are experiencing that problem, and you see the same symptoms. And we know what the solution is. The solution is, we need more healthcare funding. Yeah, we need more education funding. Yeah, we need more employment lands. We need it's not a bedroom community anymore. There's more than 500,000 people in there. We need every intersection needs to have a vibrant kind of business base structure connected to well-connected transit. Otherwise, it's just going to continue to be suburban sprawl, which isn't good for anything.
Yeah.
Like if you compare both of look at Brampton. When you go to Brampton downtown, it seems dead.
Yeah.
Like
a lot of the shops closed down, right?
Right,
Yeah.
and then when you go to Mississauga, it's like it's everything's so alive,
Yeah.
like City Square One.
Because if you think about it, right, if you look at all the condos around Square One, that's thousands of people that can easily just walk over to.
And there's a lot of people I know that live in those condos.
Yeah.
Actually,
Yeah.
one of my guests who'll be joining us a little later, won't reveal who that is, lives in that area and loves it. Never wants to go to Toronto.
Yeah.
He's like, everything's around me. Now Square One has amenities.
Exactly.
The rec room, this food district. Like,
you really
there's
gotta
stuff to
think-
do.
Yeah.
Like when I come home, I live in Brampton, and when I come home from work, I don't want to go anywhere. Because I'm like, I gotta get back. I gotta get back out there in the traffic, right? It's the traffic. The one place I'll go, and I'm going to shamelessly plug it in, is J-Red's. J-Red and Co.
J-Red and Co. Yeah. Shout out
it's
to
on
Jason
it's
Raza.
on Vauden, and I go there because honestly, it's like 10 minutes down the street.
I've never
I'm like,
been.
in my head, I'm like, oh, I can just drive down 10 minutes.
According to Thumb, apparently the truffle pizza is the best pizza.
Really?
Oh yeah,
Okay.
it's so good. But like, yeah,
Gurjoat doesn't
it's a
agree.
10-minute drive down Vauden, and then I'm there. Right, that's the one place I'll consider going, only because.
Or McKay's Pizza.
Yeah.
See?
McKay's Pizza for the patty that's stuffed
Oh
with
my
lettuce and tomato.
But you see what's happening is we're all looking for places that are nearby,
Yeah.
so we can avoid traffic, right?
Yeah.
Okay, quickly, because I know unfortunately, I got a bunch of guests, so I got to move
Sure.
on.
He's kicking us off.
One last theory. What's our prediction on something current affairs related in 2020, just provide a quick sentence, and then
Sure.
Ali,
I'll go straight local. This year, Peel Regional Police hired its first police chief of color.
Yeah.
Chief Nishan Durayappa. I've spoken to him. He's a great guy. I'm not an optimistic guy, and I'm optimistic that under his command, we're going to see some real improvements in policing in the area and
Awesome.
in the community. And I'm just excited for it.
Jyoti, what are some predictions? And you can't say Sauga 960 being amazing.
That's what I was literally going to say that. You read my thought. But again, I'm going to have to plug in Sauga 960 right here.
You have to.
I have a mic here in front of me. Why not? So with us is that we're going to continue to grow. We're going to bring in more, we're going to bring in news where people are going to tune in and to find out what's happening in their city, whether it's Brampton, Mississauga, Caledon. We are never going to forget Caledon. That's the one thing.
We can't.
No, we can't.
It's beautiful.
It is.
It's so beautiful.
It is. Like,
Yeah.
sorry, this is so not something we were talking about. But
No, we're still
driving in
Peel.
Caledon,
Yeah.
when driving in Caledon at night with the stars
Yeah.
and when it's
Oh, man.
snowing, it's so beautiful.
good.
Yes. Anyways.
Caledon's awesome.
Yeah. Sauga 960 is going to hit the roads. We're going to go big. And if any information that anybody wants to know about our station, about our shows, feel free to call us or go onto our website, www.sauga960am.ca, or send us an email at info@sauga960am.ca. That's all.
Amazing.
Beautiful.
Amazing. And Ali, if any listeners want to connect with you, what's the best way to do that?
Sure. You can just follow me on Twitter. It's reporter_Raza. That's the handle, reporter_Raza. If you really want to email me, you can email me at my name, Ali, A-L-I, Raza, R-A-Z-A, @metroland.com. That's
Awesome.
that's my work email. I'll take it seriously.
Special thanks to Ali. Thank you both for joining us. But we are going to keep the conversation going. Joining me now in studio is my homegirls. They host each and every Saturday from 5 to 8? Or
Oh
5
my
to 7?
God, you still don't know.
6 to 8?
Ridiculous. 5 to 7. You can
5
talk
to
now.
7.
Our mics are on.
Oh, so you pretty much have my time slotted on Saturdays now. But you guys
You have our time slot on Sundays.
Let's be straight.
That's so funny that you said
You
that.
are our sister
Yeah.
program.
No, we are, yeah. I'm definitely a sister. It is my homies from the Elemnt, Taman and Gurjoat. Ladies, how's it going?
It's great. We're at the studio having mimosas. You got beer.
Yeah,
Can't be
Lost
better than
Craft,
this.
shout out to them.
Yeah, shouts to Lost Craft for hooking us up.
Yeah, hook us up too sometimes. We're on Saturdays, the better day to have a beer, let me tell you.
What do you mean? Sundays is good too. It's industry night.
Sunday's great, but Saturdays,
Saturdays, your show is like the
Ideal.
good pregame show.
exactly.
Like before you go out
That's
on
what we
Saturday.
are, bro. You're
Pre-game?
pre-gaming, you're drinking, put our show on. It would be a great time.
Because even some of the topics you guys
We're
talk
doing the
about,
exact same thing.
literally. But even the topics that you guys mentioned, like they're like pre-gaming topics. They get like super deep when you're drinking, right? Like
Yeah.
you start talking about life questions and current affairs and stuff that's happening, and it gets pretty deep on the show. What'd you guys talk about yesterday? I missed it because I have a daughter now, so
Oh wow!
Yeah.
Yeah, congratulations
I can't
on that.
listen like how I used to.
That's okay. We won't judge you for
Oh,
that.
thank you.
Well,
Lack
we,
of sleeping on.
Yeah, I'm wired right now.
so what we talked about yesterday was lessons learned, and so
Yeah.
kind of like on the similar thing. Like it's been 10 years. We're in our mid to late 20s. What lessons did we learn?
Mid to
You know?
late.
So young, so mid to late.
Mid to
I'm-
late. Latest as you
I
can
think like
push it.
it's because like I think you experience a lot of growth during this time. I think you
I can still
experience a
say
lot of
that.
growth regardless, like
Totally.
as you get older.
Yeah.
But I think like a bulk of your learning, like between this age, you kind of you first learn your first taste of independence,
Yeah.
right? I
Yeah.
still remember like, being able to drive a car when I was 16 with my own debit card,
Oh, snap.
And so it's like that freedom, and then you go into school and that's that added freedom, and you're like literally let loose, and it's about how you build your habits in this past decade that matter so much, and how you build yourself and how you learn to cope the best, right? Obviously there's more journey and there's more learning onwards, but this is the best time, like you are
Lessons
literally in
learned.
control of your life, right?
Call it decade lessons.
Lessons learned.
well, especially because like I find, so I'm 31, turning 32 in March. This decade was like the first time that I actually felt like I remembered a lot of the years. Like you think about the decade from 2000 to 2009, right? In 2000, I was in grade 6. 2009, I was at the tail end of my undergrad. So there was a lot of growth. Like I wasn't like I was still maturing, you know, still going through puberty, like still trying to become who I was. Now I think of 2010 to 2019, man, the growth is crazy. Like I still remember my university days very vividly. Like I remember my master's. I remember all the experiences I've had. I remember meeting my wife during this decade. I remember all this stuff, right? And it's nuts to actually think back and be like, man, like the changes that I've seen it's nuts. Like it's scary to be like, I used to be this person. Like really? I don't know.
I totally relate with that. I get it. Go ahead. Say what you were going to say.
No, I was gonna say that. Isn't it weird that we count like the time period in which we remember a decade goes in tens? So it's like from 2010 to like 2020, but it's like maybe my defining decade was from like 2005 to 2015.
That's true too.
Or 2004 to 2014, and like it's just like the whole idea of like defining decades. It's like it's a predetermined time.
Time's a construct, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Just like everyone.
I don't know if it makes sense.
No, it does. It does, because you almost want to equate it to when the major changes have happened versus like, oh, because for all I know, in 2010 I'm working, a really bad job. Yeah. 2019 I'm still in that very bad job. It's just like there's not much growth, and I'm like, why am I defined by this when I actually should be defined by that? It's almost like this funny meme that I saw where people were saying, from December 24th, you have Christmas Eve, December 25th, you have Christmas Day, then you have December 26th, you have Boxing Day. Then from December 27th to the 30th, it just feels like like one big long Sunday. Mm-hmm. And then New Year's Eve.
Oh my goodness, I've been seeing so many memes like that, but like I can relate, but I'm still working in between at the same time too. So I can hustling. Like partially relate, but
yeah. So you know what? I wasn't going to touch on a lot of decade stuff, but maybe let's talk about it, because I think it's worth it, and you guys can kind of throw in some 2019 stuff in there as well. But when you think back to this decade from a mainstream standpoint, not just from a personal standpoint, but from stuff that made news, stuff that happened, what are you going to remember? And maybe Taman will begin with you.
So one thing for me is December 12th, 2012.
The conspiracy that the world's going to end.
Yeah. The Mayan calendar ended, and we went off the Mayan lunar calendar for like ever.
Really?
And then they just clearly didn't do it past 2012.
They're just like, humans must be smart enough to continue it.
Wow.
And clearly we decided that it was the end of the world.
It was really stupid.
But you know what? Thinking about it, maybe it was when a lot of chaotic stuff started happening in terms of politics, and a lot of like the world moved towards like fascism, and like it had slowly started moving towards that kind of like way, like racist, more uninclusive, and more kind of obviously there was always conflict, right? But like amplified conflict, and like it needed to.
Do you think that's what happened in 2012? Is that what you're trying to say?
I think maybe that was one of the reasons,
Interesting.
right? Like amplified conflict, because I think throughout the past years, from like
because the Mayan calendar ended.
No.
Yo, wait a minute.
It's all based on the Mayan calendar.
Maybe it was like, but it doesn't have to be Mayan. Maybe it was like a prediction for something, Maybe it would have been
interesting. I never thought about it that way.
It could either be the Mayans were like, hey, these humans are smart enough to continue it. We've done like a couple centuries, right? Or B,
you just flip it over. That's what it was.
They thought that like, something like negative was going to happen that was going to end the world, but maybe they got it wrong, because we can all be wrong at some certain scale, and they actually meant that conflict was going to start at an amplified rate, which I feel like it did.
I just keep thinking back to that 2012 movie. I never watched the movie.
Oh, the climate change one, 2012.
Yeah, and I remember just like watching the trailer.
But that's because everybody thought the world was going to end. That's why they made a movie out of it.
That's true. So what are you going to remember about this decade, Gurjoat?
Trump. Like, how do you not? Like, think about it.
Is it bad that I started the decade watching The Apprentice?
Did you? I think I watched a couple episodes too. That's interesting.
Well, I used to watch The Apprentice religiously in high school, because like I was like a business student, and I'm like, oh, this is perfect to like learn about business. And then I remember
gotta learn from Trump. He's the best.
For some reason I held Trump in high regard.
He fires people off TV.
Literally. And I remember reading his book too, which was like a waste of brain cells. But
you had a university too, right?
Huh?
You had a university.
Trump University, yeah.
Yeah, Trump University.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I didn't go to that university. But,
unfortunately.
But I like, it's interesting to see the transformation. It's funny you mentioned the progression of change, because 2010, Obama's in office, and we'll talk. And we're talking U.S. here. Obama's in office. There's so much optimism. Like, first black president. He's so positive. Trump's on the screen right now as you speak. I remember Obama is still one of my most favorite speakers of all time. Like, he's just so passionate, and I always try to learn from his delivery, because he's very good with his words. Then you end the decade off and you have Trump being impeached. What a difference 10 years can make.
This 10 years has been the rise of Trump. That's what it's been. You saw from The Apprentice to where it's at now. That's
so it's my fault.
Forever be.
It's like I watching The Apprentice.
No, it's not. You're not the only person.
And it was Celebrity Apprentice too. It wasn't even the real. It was
You guys heard about online in Canada, right? Like a lot of those Lifetime channels that play holiday movies.
Yeah.
They cut Trump out of it, but apparently
Home Alone 2. They cut Trump out.
Yeah, but they cut him out. CBC, yeah. But they did it a while back, apparently, for commercial space. Apparently,
Well, they got to put whatever reasons they can on top of that.
But that cameo with Trump was like so small. Like, I remember not even realizing he was in the movie until a few years ago.
What
when
year
he
did
won.
that movie come out in?
1991 or 92? 93, according to Amit.
What? So the rise of Trump has been starting for a minute. It hasn't just been the past decade.
It was starting from his Papa Bear.
Hang on, sorry.
Oh, Jyoti
Remember
Banu here.
The Simpsons predicted it?
Yeah,
they did.
Yeah,
he was in too, right?
Yeah.
They did, man. Let's talk about conspiracy theories for the next 10 minutes, because I'm all about that.
Simpsons predict a lot.
But that's because they said...
Do you think the writer from The Simpsons is from the future? There's a
Time
theory
traveler.
on it.
Honestly, The Simpsons is crazy. Shout out to The Simpsons they're on a 30th season right now. 31.
Yeah, they're killing it.
30th.
That's insane.
And I appreciate them so much more now. Like, I used to watch The Simpsons as a kid, but now watching them, it's so different.
Yeah.
Like, I get so much more. There's so many other underlying jokes. The fact that even movies, Disney used to do it, and you hate on Disney, but the fact that they cater movies to, like, kids and adults, because like you got to take your kids there, even if they put dirty jokes in it, whatever they do. Like,
I love The Simpsons.
So that's entertainment. I love The Simpsons too. They're my favorite.
I'm gonna quickly shout out Jyoti because she has been on a Simpsons binge watch for a while, and that's another thing I want to talk about. Binge watching.
Binge watching is crazy.
That is this decade.
When Netflix started the decade, they were a DVD rental company.
Yeah.
Yes.
Now they're a streaming giant. We're ending the decade with Disney Plus, Amazon Prime, Crave here locally. Like, streaming services are everywhere. Do you expect in the next in the next 10 years that we're no longer going to have cable? Everything's going to be on a streaming device?
Think about this. Like, the last decade has also been like a big improvement in growth in virtual reality. Why would we have television shows?
Wow. So you're thinking that eventually
when we're about to go into VR right now.
Landlines are extinct.
Landlines are crazy.
Landlines are extinct.
Someone tried to sell me a landline. Because I was moving into my new house, and I was trying.
Someone tried to sell you a landline?
They're trying to give me a bundle.
What? Do you have a landline?
No.
Landlines are so weird, man.
My family didn't even want to change their numbers from American numbers to Canadian numbers when they came here because the phone deals are so bad. I'm literally the only
your Buffalo
person.
family or your Ohio family?
Like my Ohio family. Like my parents and my brother and my sister. All of us, like, we lived here, but we moved to the States. We talked about that.
Yeah, we did, yeah.
But everybody got their phones there. So coming back.
What?
Remember fax lines?
Yes, fax
Yeah,
lines.
people still use them. They have it on their business card. I'm like, do you really use it?
The Sauga Night seriously have a fax line?
Of course not.
Why not? What if you have someone else that fax us information?
The
Just
amount
text
of
it to me.
emails.
I was going to fax you my resume when I joined the station. But
Really?
I couldn't. Okay, so what are some theories on 2020? What, from a mainstream standpoint, what do you predict? So we talked about streaming services probably being the end-all, be-all, landlines being officially extinct. What do we think about 2020 from a mainstream standpoint? Current affairs standpoint. Actually, here's the question that I posed: will Trump still be president by the end of 2020?
I don't think it even matters whether he will or won't, because he won't have the same power as he did before with like the executive orders and such that he would pass.
Yeah.
I don't think that's what's going to define 2020. That's just like the little sprinkles that are coming in from like the last like.
Because it isn't an election year.
It is election year.
Yeah,
2020 is election year, Olympic year.
2020 is big.
Oh, because I'm swinging.
Oh, yeah. Gurjoat, stop swinging.
What are you doing?
Gurjoat's currently swinging at Taman. They're fighting in the studio. No, they're not. Taman, what are your predictions on 2020? Actually, will Trump be president by December 31st, 2020?
I think he will.
Yeah.
Really? So he's not only gonna not get impeached, he's gonna win the election.
But think about it. His whole party is like literally. Why wouldn't they vote for their own? Like,
Actually, I don't know if
Party
he'll
to-
still be president by 20. Well, like
Will he get
technically,
reelected? Yeah, probably.
like if we are talking about technicalities, he won't.
If you want to be technical with it,
If you want to be technical with it, he won't actually be like, even if he loses the throne or whatever it is.
was it Game of Thrones that we're talking? If Trump loses the Iron Throne, this is what's gonna happen.
If the U.S. is a G7 country, it is like something that like. Everyone anywhere in the world knows about America,
Why'd you say it like that?
It's America. It's America. Everyone knows about it. It's Hollywood. It's like everything. Everyone wants to travel to it. I think that, no, but even then he technically doesn't get removed out of seat until January, right? When he actually has to get the throne. So like technically, even if I'm wrong, I'm right.
Yeah, that's true too. Maybe I should have phrased that better. And maybe that's one of the reasons why I got the answers that I got on Instagram. I ran the question, will Trump still be president a year from now? 62% said yes, 38% said no.
Can I say something on that?
Say something, yes.
The only reason he's going to in that 62% has, first of all, anybody read his impeachment letter?
No, I haven't read it yet.
It is so funny. Oh my God. And it's 6 pages of it. And my cousin sent it to me and it was great.
You read it all?
Bro, I like circled little parts of it and I was like, let's discuss this real quick. But his strategy and the way he, even though we seem like it may seem ridiculous, right? The Republicans are going to vote out a Republican president. They're not going to do it, like, right? When it comes to the second part of the impeachment.
A lot of Republicans don't like him either. though.
Yeah, they may not like him, but still. However, the way he caters to his crowd, the thing is, loyalties run so deep, and I don't think that's about to change in one impeachment hearing.
Yeah.
This is the 3rd impeachment hearing of like U.S. history. That's why I said Trump is going to definitely be remembered for the past decade, like 100%, because anybody else that the country has tried to impeach, and that's like democracy, and it's like at its finest for people to try to be like, this is America, this is democracy. We can get
This is America.
We can get people out of their seat.
We're about to swear? I think we're about to swear, weren't you?
No.
She's an expert.
I am. Bro, I
Awesome.
got shows on Saturdays
I know.
for the pre-games of going out. No swearing.
So another question I asked on social, and we'll end on this note, is what was the biggest news story of the year? So I'll read you some of the responses. Trump's impeachment, so we talked about that. I think that was a big story towards the later half. It's like the fact he's the third president to get impeached, which is nuts. Trudeau's blackface photo. You think Trudeau's recovered from that now? No, not yet, eh?
Someone showed me like a meme yesterday. Was it you? Someone sent me one.
Was that the Fair and Lovely ad? Oh, here we go. Oh, it's a Dr. Seuss one. Oh God, 1, 2. I can't even read that online.
Trump called
one face, two face, black face. That's what it is. And
White
it's
face,
one
black
face of
face.
Trudeau, then two faces of Trudeau, and then
white face of Trudeau.
face.
and the black face.
Somebody named Gil KG on my Instagram said Chair Girl was the biggest story of
I was
2019.
just joking, but
No,
Actually,
but she's in the Drake video.
Yeah.
she is in the Drake
But then
video.
she got removed. Drake was
Yeah.
like, Drake came out with a statement saying he can't control who gets cast in his videos.
And ladies and gentlemen, that is the power of social media, which is also Instagram this decade. Massive.
Yeah.
I live my life through memes.
Literally.
I can't even have a conversation with someone. I'm like, yo, just hit me up on Instagram. I will
Hit me
send
on the
you.
IG.
I will.
I think 2020 is going to be better.
communicate like with you via memes and how I feel through memes.
For me, like, it's crazy how much. If I email somebody, it'll take them like days to respond. But if I copy and paste that exact same message into an Instagram DM, they'll respond like instantly.
Because it's an app on your phone. When it comes to your email, you have to like go into your email to open your email. I don't check my email.
Last one, I think this makes the most sense.
But the Element checks their email.
They do, yeah. The Elemnt does. Go email them. They got an open mic taking place on Friday. Go check them out.
Yes, here in studio, 130 Westmore Drive. Hit us up on the Element, TheElemnt. I'm so sorry.
No, it's okay. I wanted you guys to promote that. One last big story that I'll mention that was pretty good. The Raptors, I think, was a big news story.
Yes.
Yeah. So,
But like, I think that like this next decade, they're only gonna get better, and I think
I
that
agree.
this what happened in 2019 the lines are going to get blurred and it's going to get pushed into this decade.
I think so. I think so, for
right?
sure.
I think for NBA in Toronto and stuff, like, and
'Cause ball is
Canada
life.
and basketball, because ball is truly
Shouts
life.
to Roots Gear, right? Roots Gear for hooking you up.
Yes.
Yes.
I voted for you.
You did?
If I didn't win that, I would be extremely upset.
We did a whole food photo
Roots Gear, like I gave them a shout out too. Roots
Yeah.
Gear, no.
Yeah.
Shout out to Sauga 960. We're the home of the Raptors.
Raptors 905,
Yeah.
which killing it. Actually,
It's nice to see though. Think about it. Like in basketball, Toronto had their glory days before, like when Vince Carter was
Yeah.
here, and they're coming back, guys.
but now it's like the glory days mean something because we have a chip, right? Before we had Carter, it's like, okay, Carter was an awesome player. He killed the dunk competition. But we never had a chip. Like we made it to the conference semis or conference finals that year, and like we celebrated like we won. During the DeRozan time, we also celebrated too. But we have a chip now. Like,
Yeah,
it's
I was
funny.
just watching them play the Celtics yesterday.
Yeah,
They're
they
great,
killed it, man.
They're killing
I'm
it.
loving the energy for some of these young players. Some of them actually were Raptors 905s previously, so
It makes you think of basketball like before, like the way
100%.
they play. You know what I
I
mean?
love how scrappy we're playing. I love the scrappiness.
Exactly, me too.
Yeah.
But I don't watch that often anymore. But I was watching yesterday, and like it's nice to see.
Because Gil KG is too busy schooling people on the court.
That's facts right there. You heard it right now on 960 AM on New Theory Radio.
Awesome. I got to let you guys go because we got a bunch of guests, but if people want to connect with the Elemnt, how can they do so? And talk about your event on Friday.
So real quickly, Instagram and Twitter, the Elemnt, TheElemt, no E in the ment.
Yes, we make that very clear.
Get the E out.
Get the E out. You
E
guys
is
can hit us
for
up.
ego. We don't have that.
No ego. That's why we're the Element. You are not talking to two separate people. You're talking to the Elements.
Oh my God, you got some
Yes.
jokes.
We have
She's
an
fire,
open
I'm
mic
water.
night next Friday,
Yeah.
so definitely come through, guys. It's basically to create a platform in a safe and nice, cool, hopefully chill vibes environment. I'll be here. I'll push out all the chill vibes as much as I possibly can. And it's just so for artists to showcase what they got. We have art we have Delvine.
She'll be
have her
curating art, and she'll be curating art for like different artists as well as her own. She does like some really dope digital art, and we are going to maybe end the night in a cipher if we have enough folks. I think a cipher is a really fun way, even if you've never participated in a cipher, even if you don't think you're musical or poetic or whatever. I think just like going there and like you kind of get into
It's a different
very comfortable
experience,
space. You get a mic thrown at you, and because everyone is doing it, you're just like, yo.
And I
Let me
wrote
try
a song,
this.
and the
That's
girl
really
that sang it is coming, so that'll be great.
Okay, so because you guys are playing the cipher while we go to commercial break.
Oh, no.
Jyoti, just put the New Theory Radio beat on.
Do it. No,
I want Gil KG to spit a verse.
I can't spit nothing. I don't
Come
know
on.
nothing. I'm not a freestyler. Guys, you're going to make
Come
me sound so
on.
dumb on air right
Come
now.
on, we had you spit every single time I have you on the show. I have you spit something. Come on, say something. Hurry up.
I don't know what to say. Yo, I literally don't know what to say. You're putting me on the spot so hard right now.
Oh my
Yo,
God.
should I pull something up then real quick?
Hurry, we got a commercial. Can we go to commercial break?
Oh no. Oh no.
Oh, she's
Come
dubbing
on,
it.
Lady G.
Look at DJ Jyoti
All
Pandu
my
on the
stuff
ones and
is so
twos.
dookie, bro. Like, if
It's
I'm
okay.
up with something,
Give us a
it's gonna
dookie
be
verse.
Like, you want something dookie?
Give us something emotional for 2019. Come on.
Oh my god, they're all emotional. Everything's just too emotional.
Come on.
Oh my god.
Come on.
The ending
waiting.
credits.
Okay, fine, fuck it. Okay. Ask from the universe and you shall receive. So be careful what you say. Be impeccable with your speech. It's not always what you want, but it's always what you need. Honesty broke my heart, but honesty is what I see.
Snap, snap, snap. We're taking a quick commercial break and we'll be right back here on New 3 Radio. And we are back here on New Theory Radio on News Talk Sauga 960 AM. My name is Nav Nanwa. I am your host. And this is the show we theorize on all things current affairs, pop culture, and everyday life. And it's our year-end edition of New Theory Radio. We are recapping the year that was when it comes to 2019, as well as sharing a couple thoughts on the decade as well, and some theories on 2020. And moving on, we are now going to be talking about the entertainment world, or the pop culture world, like I like to call it on the show, and really talking about some of the celebrity stuff that happened this year, some of the TV shows, movies, all that goodness. And joining me in studio, I got another previous guest, a good friend of mine, someone that was like one of my idols when it came to like radio stuff back in the day. She's like a legend in the South Asian radio scene. Used to kill it. Straight nuts radio days.
No big deal. Just our director Jyoti just laughing.
Yeah.
Over there.
Jyoti Bandhu's all over this show today. It is my good friend Poonum Singh is here in the building. What up, Poonum?
What's up?
What's
Poonum in
going
the
on?
building, aka Spicy P,
Spicy
aka
P,
aka Queen of Pop Culture up in here.
Yo, you are. Your Twitter game is like unreal when it comes to pop culture.
It's so funny because even I'm not going to disclose my age. Even don't spill your beer. Even at my age, people are like, you still know what's going on, hey, in the hip hop world and in the like celebrity gossip world.
I love it.
I'm like, I eat it up. I eat all that up.
But because I see you talking about that,
Yeah.
it gives me like, makes me feel good because I'm close to your age to still be in tune with everything.
Because you're a dad.
I'm a dad
and
now.
you don't want to be that dad.
I don't be that dad that's out of touch.
Oh,
I feel like
that's the worst.
I feel like I might become that dad when like new music comes up. Like, well, back
what
in
are
my
these,
day,
what are these kids listening to these days?
literally. I don't want be that dad that's so out of touch, that's so like stuck in his ways, that's only bumping like Tupac and Biggie and thinking that's it.
just bump it. Yeah.
Yeah, straight Bapuji. And then joining me with you is colorblind photography himself, my baby brother Amit Nanwa is here. He wanted to chime in on the year-end episode.
Yeah.
We've had him on the show previously. We did an episode on superheroes and comic book movies, or comic book heroes becoming into movies. And Poonum, your job now, we used to be in media. Now you're. Can we disclose it?
I'm still in media.
Okay, still media.
Still representing
On the marketing
brands.
side, representing
still
brands for one of the biggest media
Telecoms.
brands,
Yeah.
telecom companies. We'll just say that. But no, I thought you guys will both be very relevant to this topic. Poonum, you are obviously, like I mentioned, you're very in tune with what's going on right now. With you yourself are also very in tune. I tried to be in tune. Some of you guys can coach me a little bit. But when you think about 2019, what was something that really stood out in your mind when it came to just the entertainment sort of pop culture world from a movie and TV standpoint? Like for me, I think the fact that we have so many streaming services is crazy, and the fact that a lot of these streaming services have very awesome content. Like I'm finding that I myself am feeling very overwhelmed with the amount of content out there. Like it's hard to keep up with what an HBO is doing, what Netflix is coming out with,
Hulu, Prime,
Disney Plus, like
Disney
all
Plus.
the money they're spending on their content. Like, what about you guys? Poonum, we'll start with you.
You know what? You're right. I think everyone's mind is super fragmented right now. And it's because there's just too much and not everybody can afford all these platforms. So for me,
Sorry, we're just laughing at Jyoti.
Yeah, she just can't keep her hands out of the studio. So for me, off the top of my head, obviously Nav had a disclaimer. He's like, don't mention any HBO shows. And I'm like, well.
No, you can. HBO killed it.
Come on. 2019, last season of Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
A little bit underwhelming, let's be real.
Yeah, very underwhelming.
Right? But they did it. They finished it. And then I think for me, I don't watch that much stuff on Prime. But what really stood out for me on Prime Video this year was Savage Fenty's show.
Oh yeah,
which was a big deal. I think for any female so obviously I'm going to speak from a female perspective. That show was.
I watched it
you
too.
Watched it too.
I had to watch it. I'm a big Rihanna fan.
Okay, good.
And then I knew my wife also is a big Rihanna fan. And you know what? What I like about that fashion show was it wasn't like your tongue-in-cheek Victoria's Secret fashion show. Like this was a show. Like I would have went live if I had the option.
I think the reason Victoria's Secret fashion show went down under was because of the Savage Fenty show.
Too.
Right? Like the plethora of bodies on stage, the music selection, the creativity, the choreography, it was just super groundbreaking. So that was a top highlight for me.
Yeah.
Obviously. And then we just mentioned Game of Thrones, and I'll throw another one. I'll throw in Chernobyl in there. If
Yeah,
anyone has
Chernobyl.
not watched Chernobyl, watch Chernobyl.
Everyone's obsessed with The Watchmen right now. Like
The Watchmen, yes.
the thing about HBO is I remember seeing a lot of articles before the series finale of Game of Thrones saying, what is HBO going to do?
Yeah,
All the
because
like-
everyone was a little bit worried about,
Everyone was
you
worried.
guys had your tentpole show.
Yeah, now
Yeah.
it's gone,
So-
right?
And now it's gone.
It's
What's
like
gonna
AMC, right? AMC had the same issue once Breaking Bad and Mad Men were done. It's
Right.
like, AMC, what do you have? And
The Walking Dead, but it's not as good as
yeah, it's
Yeah.
not as good. Yeah. And that's the crazy thing about it is when you have these, you mentioned tentpole shows, like people are especially when you lean on them so much, like Game of Thrones, and again they're releasing like what, a prequel
Yeah,
and
two big
Yeah.
shows are in plan, but I think one of them got canceled, but I think another one's still going on, right? Yeah,
yeah. So it's just crazy to see how reliant some of these networks are on some of these franchises.
Right. And I think the only other one off the top of my head that was super, how do you say it, like buzzworthy and it made people talk was Netflix's When They See Us.
Oh, exactly. Yeah.
Amazing.
Right? Like,
It's
so
amazing.
that stood out in 2019 because it was such you had to talk about that show
So
after
intense.
watching it, remember?
It's like every episode you're just crying. Every episode.
Oh, yeah, that too.
Amit, what about you, man?
Yeah.
What was this year about for you, man?
Yo, I felt this whole year has been a big thing too, like just going back to superheroes, right? Superheroes in general, man, just been taking over, right? With Endgame, with like the Joker. Joker is blowing up, right? Joker's insane, right? You know, you and me have conversations about that all the time. Everyone's talking about Joker, right? Big things. So superhero stuff, and also going back to Amazon Prime. I know another big show that they dropped was actually another superhero show called The Boys. That's insane. It's getting a lot of buzz. Season 2 is coming out too, so a lot of people have been going on that as well. So I feel like Amazon Prime's actually gearing themselves up for the new year as well with this new content stuff.
Yeah, I just love Amazon Prime's content, like because I go to TIFF every year, and we'll see if I go next year because I have a little one. But I've noticed a lot of the TIFF movies that I was interested in watching have now shown up on Amazon Prime. Like I don't know if Amazon Prime's just showing up to Toronto every year and just buying out all the movies that people aren't
exactly.
buying into. Which celebrity had the best year in 2019?
Are we talking like Hollywood?
Let's yeah, because we're talking music later. So let's talk maybe Hollywood, entertainment, TV, movies. Like, what was a celebrity in your eyes that was like, man, this person killed it? I think in 2018 it was Childish Gambino, but in 2019, who was that person?
Okay, so we're still talking music?
Yeah. Well, it doesn't have to be music.
Oh, okay. I would say I think Lily had a big year.
Lily Singh.
Yeah, Lily
Yeah,
Singh.
yeah.
With,
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Well, at least for 2019, like the first female queer women, of
Yeah.
color.
She had a lot of different accolades.
She definitely did. I think another celeb. Ooh, this is really super hard. I didn't think about like an actual celebrity in mind. That'll be tough for me. I'm gonna hand over the baton to Amit.
I was saying, I always go back to The Rock, right? The Rock every year is always out here killing
Really?
it, right? The Rock's always playing the grind.
Dwayne The Rock
He
Johnson.
always has those movies though too, right? He has Jumanji out, Jumanji making that money. And that, like another huge thing is always like the Star Wars in general, right? Like I feel there's not really no one big star that really had this year as their year.
Yeah.
There was like a lot of people that had the roles. Like I feel like you could even say Joaquin Phoenix for his role as Joker.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
he really took over that year, and like it's really decisive on the views on that. A lot of people have different views on it, but I don't know, man. There's really no single person that really stands out unless it's other than Lily, because Lily had that big year, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
In the Canadian landscape, I think for sure Lily. I don't think I can pinpoint one especially, or maybe the college scandal that happened. Like,
Yeah.
but what were their names again? With Lori.
Lori Loughlin from
Yeah.
Full House.
She probably didn't have her best year. Let's be real.
What's her name again?
Felicity Huffman.
Do you know who had a sleeper year this year? Lena Waithe. Lena Waithe was like,
Yeah,
she
she
had
didn't
Shy.
Oh,
she
yeah,
had
yeah.
Boomerang on BET. Queen and Slim.
Queen and Slim.
Yeah, like she had a sleeper year this year too. Just kind of showing up and like
That's
kind of
true.
showing her different skills.
Talents, yeah.
Yeah, that was interesting. Who do you think will have a good year in 2020?
I think, well, if we're going to base it off the movies that came out in 2019, because now the award shows are going to happen.
yeah.
The Golden Globes are going to happen in January, and the Academy Awards in Feb. I think it'll be a huge year for, oh my God, we're just talking about it right now, and I can't.
Well, Joaquin Phoenix.
Joaquin Phoenix, I it hasn't come out yet. It'll come out in Netflix in January, I heard. But I think Adam Sandler.
Oh yeah, with
Uncut Gems.
Oh yeah,
Okay, so
good,
someone explain to me the hype around that movie. Because it looks hype, but like there's a lot of like, I feel like especially a lot of hip hop culture is really embraced it too.
I think because like you're talking about what's the hype of the movie. I think it's just no one has ever seen him in a non-comedic role. So
There's been some
and then
things, but
and not just seeing him in a non-comedic role, he's killing it. People are
exactly.
saying he's actually
Oscar
killed
ready.
this
Yeah.
this role.
Yeah.
So I definitely think Jamie. I don't know if Jamie Foxx will win, but I think Jamie Foxx in Just Mercy
yeah,
was
I heard good things
amazing.
about
Did you
That's
see that
one-
movie?
That's one movie in TIFF I wanted to see.
Oh, you
we
wanted
couldn't
to
get
see.
tickets.
Okay.
But it looks phenomenal. I'm surprised
is.
I didn't see that pop up for Golden Globes.
Yeah.
I didn't see it.
But it's always weird what makes it and
Yeah,
what
exactly.
doesn't make
I
it.
don't. I usually don't pay attention to the Golden Globes, to be honest.
Yeah.
Like it
Some of
just
the
seems like a
campaigns,
party.
right? I don't think they're running like a powerful campaign for
They're
Just
not.
Mercy.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
'Cause
true.
I listened to our podcast. Well, it's what's it called? Not as good as your show though.
He's my brother. He has to say that.
I gotta be nice. Right?
Can the guy listen to other podcasts? Jeez.
No way. Nuclear Radio. Go subscribe on Spotify and iTunes.
Yeah. So I heard a lot of things that their campaign is not pushing that well.
Yeah.
So it's even with what's it called, Uncut and Gems. The thing is that like a lot of people have seen Adam Sandler and Stern roles. Like he did that one movie with what's it called, Paul Thomas Anderson.
Yeah.
What's it called,
Punch Drunk Love. Yeah.
Amazing film. He did another one with Don Cheadle called Rain Over Me. Like he killed that movie too. And no one talks about it as much. But I think Adam Sandler has that. You're right. As Poonum said, I think he has that thing coming up in that sense that he might be like an Oscar winner soon.
Yeah.
I think people will be buzzing about him in 2020.
Yeah,
Like
I
I
think
think on
so.
the red carpet it'll be like, oh, like what's Adam Sandler doing? And I think even I think Dave Chappelle was probably another guy of the year for 2019.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
For sure.
Right,
Stand-up
stand-up
specials
special
are
dropped to people after I don't know after how many years, but I think Chappelle was definitely one of the guys that you were talking about. And if you didn't watch his stand-up, then you kind of felt the FOMO, and you're like, oh, you didn't see his stand-up.
Yeah. No, Chappelle killed it, and it's also interesting to see.
And he kind of started this movement.
He did.
Yeah,
Right, because
exactly.
because then Dolomite came out a little bit afterwards.
Yeah.
Right
Yeah.
after.
Was it Eddie Murphy?
Yeah,
Exactly.
Film too, yeah.
And now Eddie Murphy gearing up for a special?
And that'd be my choice. I think, and I said this last week because Eddie Murphy hosted SNL and he killed it. Like
Right.
Eddie Murphy is like in his comedy element again. I'm very excited because I was always a fan of old Eddie Murphy, and the new Eddie Murphy again. He's been kind of distant for a while, but I think he's gearing up for a big 2020 because Dolomite's getting a lot of hype. I think he got a Golden Globe nomination
Yeah,
for
he did,
that.
he did, yeah.
Rumor has it he might get a Academy Award nomination as
That's
well.
crazy.
Yeah, supporting
He killed SNL. He's working on Coming to America too. Apparently, he has a new stand-up special.
Yeah, for Netflix.
I think Eddie Murphy might be coming for that spot.
Yep.
I think Eddie Murphy, and I don't want to compare him to Cosby, but but I think Eddie Murphy's going to try to come for that sort of void that Cosby left, right? Where he's
Yep.
going to be that legendary black comedian that's going to have longevity, that's going to stake his claim, almost like a run that like Michael Keenan's having right now when it comes to like after Birdman, he just had this
Spotlight,
resurgence.
yeah.
Like I think Eddie Murphy will be on that same wave too. We'll have to
Yeah.
wait and see.
Yeah.
Awesome.
It'll be interesting because I think what we're moving away from now, we're going to get into the post-political correctly area.
Oh,
I
snap.
I think that's
you
what-
heard it here first on New
yeah,
Theory
that's
Radio.
my theory on New Theory Radio.
Finally, I get a theory.
And I think Eddie Murphy is an example of that. That man is not shy to say what's
No, he's
on
not.
his
Yeah,
mind.
exactly.
And he actually flat out said that in his comedy special he comes up with, he's not going to be politically correct. Like, he's
No.
like, dude, I grew, like, if you watch Delirious, I remember I put it on for my wife a couple of months ago. She'd never seen it. And there's a couple of things that Eddie Murphy says in that might not be suitable nowadays, but Eddie Murphy says straight out, like, it's comedy. Comedy's comedy. I'm
yeah.
going to poke fun at people.
Yeah.
Exactly.
It's the same kind of vibes Chappelle's on, too.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Him and for me, like right now, my personal favorite comedian is Andrew Schulz.
Yeah.
And I think in 2020, Andrew Schulz is gonna is almost gonna be a household name.
Really?
Yeah.
He's going to be that
yeah.
guy that Poonum sees on TV, like, oh, I was a fan of this guy way back.
Oh yeah, you guys don't even know. I
don't
put
know
you
about
guys
it,
all
man.
on Andrew Schulz.
Since time.
You guys don't know about the AP Army, whatever. Yeah.
Amazing,
Yeah.
amazing. Well, honestly, Poonum, thanks so much for joining us here on New Theory Radio, and thanks Amit for chiming in.
Yeah, no problem, man.
We're gonna take a quick commercial break. When we come back, we're gonna talk about music in 2019 and beyond here on News Talk Sauga 960 AM.
Hit the quan.
Yeah.
Hit the quan.
Hey.
Hey.
That's Poonum Singh for all you. Actually, Poonum, where can people reach out to if they want to connect with you and see your tweets?
At Twitter handle is at Poonum20. That's POONUM20.
Because there was 19 others that beat her to the chase.
That's
so.
right. So, and it's the same for my Facebook and my Instagram.
Awesome, awesome. Thanks so much, and we'll be right back after this quick commercial break. And we're back back here on New Theory Radio on News Talk Sauga 960 AM. My name is Nav Nanwa. I am your host, and this is the show where we theorize on all things current affairs, pop culture, and everyday life. And this is our year-end edition of the show. I got to thank all my guests so far for joining me, but we still have more guests on the way, as well as the ones I have currently in studio with me right now. I thought it'd be good to talk about the year that was when it came to music. Music's always a popular conversation that we have here on New Theory Radio, whether it's talking about the culture behind some of the music taking place nowadays or profiling local artists and other individuals. And joining me in studio to talk about this, first and foremost, she is no stranger to New Theory Radio. She is the dancing extraordinaire herself. She's in the building. Apparently she has a leg injury, otherwise I was going to get her to bust a move over the air. It is my homie Cheyenne Gold. Cheyenne, what up, girl?
Hey, what up?
Welcome back to New Theory Radio.
Thank you. It's nice to be here. I'm happy. I'm really glad to be on this special show.
The year-end show.
Yeah.
I know. Thanks for promoting it too. I appreciate that.
No problem.
Yeah, one of our big time supporters, and we always appreciate you. Shout outs to the Browntown girls as well.
Hey, shout outs.
All of them. And then joining you is actually my best friend. He is someone that we've always talked about doing a radio show like since our university days, and he's currently an entrepreneur, serial entrepreneur, and he's going to be joining the New Theory Radio team next year as a curator of playlists. Yes, we're dropping it here. It's my boy, right. Odemi Adoran. Odemi, what up, brother?
What's going on? How are you? You doing
good,
well?
Man. Yeah, I'm doing great, man.
This. It's been a long time since I've been in the radio.
Yeah, shout outs to your wife, Rachel. She's in studio with us as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
welcome.
This has always been kind of a thing for us. We always wanted to jump on the radio, and when I heard that you were in town, I was like, all right, let's bring you in the studio for the year-end show, and let's give you an on-air tryout.
Absolutely. So, you know, it was in university. We almost did the Mac 10 at 10.
Mac 10 at 10 was the plan for our radio show. It went nowhere. As soon as we pitched it, they just said, no, you guys need to go back to your dorm rooms. Yeah, but it was real life. It was real life. But you know, Odemi's actually a big music person. Cheyenne, I mentioned earlier, you're the dancing extraordinaire. You're kind of in the scene as well, based on your day job, which we won't talk about here on the air. But she works for a big time brand. Let's talk about the year that was in 2019. Let's talk about who in your eyes was the artist of 2019. Cheyenne, we'll begin with you.
That's so tough because I was thinking about this coming down to the end of the year, and definitely my Spotify stats does not reflect that at all, because I think I listened to a lot of people who didn't make music in 2019.
That's like everyone's Spotify year-end list. Like you look at mine, it's like artists that haven't released albums in 5 years.
That's the thing, and it's like me. I listen to most of my Spotify at the office, so it's like stuff that's calming me down at my desk. So it's not really really not reflective of the whole year. But I honestly, in terms of OGs, because I think Toronto obviously blew up, I think, in terms of music this year. But sure. I think in terms of OGs globally, I would say Beyonce comes to mind.
Oh, crazy.
Because I listened to her, the Gift album, a lot. Yeah. And what she did at Coachella was huge. Yeah. And then that documentary came out with Coachella. Yeah. And then she ended the year off with a partnership with Adidas and a gender neutral clothing brand, which I think
it's gender neutral.
It's gender neutral. It's pretty dope.
I had no idea.
I think she just she did her thing this year for sure. Yeah. But it's also very hard to say because there was a whole list of new artists that I discovered this year. I think I think I discovered quite a bit of new artists this year.
Who are some of those artists?
I would say Snow Allegra.
Yeah, Snow Allegra is very nice. Yeah.
New. Actually, Dusty put me on to Kali Uchis because I was listening to her stuff before, but I didn't actually take it in until this year, and she's been dropping some.
She has a really good feature on the K Toronto album.
Yes, and the K Toronto album just dropped, and that's dope too. It's so much good stuff, and then I think there's who else?
You're not into the mumble rap? You're not into the Uzi Verts and
no, that's not me, unfortunately. So you can talk about that stuff. I think Afrobeats definitely blew up this year.
Yeah, Burna Boy killed it.
Yeah, everybody knows Burna Boy now, and I'm don't get me started, okay? Burna Boy is not new. And then Latin, reggaeton, Latin pop is just
Rosalia has had a crazy year.
Rosalia.
Oh, did I say it wrong? I said it wrong, didn't I?
I'm kidding. Okay, I don't even know. But yeah, she's been blowing up, and then she's on Travis Scott's remix.
Yeah.
Now. What?
She's actually on James Blake's album. I didn't realize that until recently. I just literally I was was somebody here? No. Oh, okay. Sorry. I thought someone was here. Sorry. We're currently doing this live on air right now. I didn't realize that until I was listening to James Blake's album recently. Because I'm kind of thinking about my favorite albums of the year, and she was on a track, and I was like, "Oh, Rosalia had a sleeper year."
Yeah,
she killed
did.
it.
I think there's a ton to list, but I don't know.
Odie, what about you, man? You're a mumble rap aficionado. When it comes to our friend group, you are the mumble rap guy.
I'm 31 now. And, for me, I don't want to be the person that gets older and then says, I don't like what the young kids are doing out there.
Right.
I just talked about in the last segment because, I was telling people about how, now that I'm a dad, I don't want to be that guy. It's like, oh, well, back in my day, hip-hop was Tupac and Biggie and all that.
I am not that. I'm a man that loves progression, and I think that we need to, together as a culture, appreciate what people put out.
Okay.
Hey, snaps for that.
Yeah,
Snaps for
absolutely.
that.
Yeah, snaps. I like that. But yeah, for me, some of my favorite albums of the year, came from Gucci Woptoberfest.
Okay, so one of the 100 albums that Gucci Mane put out this year.
Yes,
him and Future have crazy output. I can't keep up with those albums.
Yes, that is true. And on that same length, Griselda Records.
Oh, Griselda killed it.
Conway, Machine, West Side Gun, which I think is one of my new.
Griselda got a shout out in Drake's interview.
Really?
Yeah, his podcast interview. He said that Griselda had a crazy year, and I tweeted out. I was like, Drake mentioning Griselda because Griselda's very 90s hip hop. That's their influence.
Yes,
it's very different than what's big right now. It's crazy to see someone like Drake, who's mainstream, who's probably considered the artist of the decade, which we'll get into, and give them a shout out on such a big platform.
Yeah, absolutely. They've done so well. Benny the Butcher, all of them. I honestly think right now West Side Gun is one of my favorite rappers.
Oh yeah.
Right now it's incredible.
So who was your artist of the year?
Artist of the year, by way of album or just artist straight up?
Anybody that you noticed that was coming up a lot, was always on the topic of conversation, somebody that was just consistent for the entire year.
Oh yeah, then once again it goes back to the Griselda Records. That's why I was bringing it up, West Side Gun for me.
Well, crazy.
Hands down.
I'm gonna say for myself, the artist of the year. Ooh, that's tough. Last year I thought Childish Gambino was my artist of the year. This year, who did I go back to a lot? Griselda was one of the people that I went back to quite a bit. Let me just check my iTunes. I should have been more prepared than this, but I'm not.
Yeah, I don't have the stats either.
But it's just crazy the amount of people that had great years this year.
I forgot to mention Billie Eilish.
Billie Eilish had a crazy year.
Yeah,
Billie Eilish had a crazy year. I was really into Tame Impala. They were one of my favorite bands. They had a good year, and they haven't even released their full album yet. Their album's coming out next year, which is crazy.
Also, as you're thinking, can I just put it out there?
Sure.
I actually don't know if I can name one Billie Eilish song.
That's totally okay.
Yeah, I don't really know.
Are you and me officially too old for Billie Eilish? Are we? Cheyenne, chime in on it.
I mean, I felt like
because you're younger than us, way younger than us. So
I wouldn't say way younger, but okay. I will say this though: I have an old soul. When it comes to like you were saying, the mumble rap, it's because I have an old soul that I'm a grandma, and I'm I don't get it. Yeah. And it's just
one of my artists of the year. I should have two. Tyler the Creator.
Okay, yes.
Because Igor had a fire. Igor was a fire album.
Earthquake.
I think Igor to me, he got to Andre 3 Stacks level in regards to his creativity. And I would say another artist that was one of my artists of the year was Anderson .Paak. Dude was on fire. I saw him live at Echo Beach this year. Best live show of the year for me that I saw live. Even his contributions to the Free Nationals album that just came out too. Dude's just consistent. He's working hard. He's so talented. He's such an amazing performer. He technically released 2 albums in the span of 6 months because he had Oxnard that came out at the end of last year and then Ventura that came out this year, and just had hits on hits, and just was totally amped people up. So, what are you guys' thoughts on Drake? Is Drake the artist of the decade?
My opinion, Drake is. I know I was saying today that West Side Gun is one of my new favorite artists. Drake 100% is my favorite hip hop artist
Wow.
of all time.
Wow.
And I will say it.
And this is on record. This is not only going to be airing right now, but it's going to air again tomorrow, and it's going to be podcasted on Tuesday. So that's
Great. I think the world needs to know my opinion, you know? Yeah. And you know, as I said, I believe for me that Drake would be my favorite artist and artist of the decade, because you look at the amount of number one records that he's had in the last 10 years, his career projection from a guy that comes from a city that back then wasn't getting any sort of love from a hip-hop perspective. I mean, you know, beyond, you know, Cardinal, like, who was it really? Choclair. Yeah, sure. But, you know, he did a lot for the city and
You know,
put on a lot of people, which I love and respect.
I got to host an event that Maestro Fresh West headlined a few months ago, and I got to have a conversation with Maestro. Actually, I'm going to bring him on the show next year. That's a goal, because he's just a legend when it comes to
absolutely
Canadian hip-hop. And I was telling him, I was like, dude, like, how do you feel about Toronto right now with Drake, Weeknd, all these peeps? And he said that, you know, he loves it. He loves the fact that sort of technology has sort of progressed and it's giving our artists a chance. Because the way he used to have to grind, like, he used to have to drive out to New York and just hand out demos, like, just give out stuff just to get noticed. Now he's like, with technology these days, like with cosigns, with people being discovered on the internet, it's a lot different. And I always appreciated that, because when he was celebrating like 30 years last year or this year for when Let Your Backbone Slide came out, and he was saying it was not easy. Like, it was not easy getting that record heard everywhere. And I just like appreciated the hustle. But I urge everyone to go check out that Rap Radar Drake interview on YouTube, because I think
it's on my saved list.
Oh, okay, go watch it after this. Cheyenne, who is your artist? Is Drake the artist of the decade?
I'd say locally, sitting here in the Greater Toronto area, I'd have to say yes,
Really?
probably. Although I did discover him in like 2005 when he featured Licky Lee, that Swedish artist, on that song Little Bit, and I was like, who is this guy in this like plaid shirt with the fall background or this like black jacket? And I was like, oh, this is cool. And then he just like blew up, and then I think Nothing Was the Same was like one of my favorite albums.
Okay,
from him.
so let's talk about that. I think a lot of people like to debate, what's better, Take Care or Nothing Was the Same?
Jeez.
I'm gonna say Take Care. Amit Nanwa's gonna say what? What are you gonna say?
Yo, don't ask me that right now, bro.
Why? You gotta choose one.
It's hard to decide now, bro. After that interview, I have a whole changed mindset.
But what was it before the interview?
Take Care.
Take Care. Okay, now after the interview, he's confused.
What's the color again? What's the color? I went back to what's Nothing the Same, and
I went back to Nothing Was the Same as well, and I'm saying Take Care all the way.
Really, I saw Nothing Was the Same, the concert live, and then it just like has like positive memories attached for me, because that was when I was in uni. So, yeah.
Aw, little youthful Cheyenne, just like growing up to that.
And you know, it's funny for me. So similarly, well, Take Care for me personally,
Right.
but it's because of some of the personal memories I've had.
Exactly.
Because, you know, going to OVO Fest, you know, for me, I think it was that Take Care one where I snuck in to the first row, like one of the first rows for like 400 level.
OVO Fest has been, me and Odie can do an entire episode on our OVO Fest
So
triumphs.
you go every year?
Well, we have gone. We
In
didn't
the
go.
early days.
First year, we did not go.
Okay.
First year, we did not go because I remember Odie was working at BlackBerry at the time. I think you got sent some email being like, hey, Drake's doing a concert. Odie flips me the email. And I think at this point, everyone's like, oh, Drake's soft. Like, no one wants to go support Drake. And then we both find out that he brings out Eminem and Jay-Z. And we're both like, oh my God. Because I think you could have got like tickets easily, I think. Like you could have bought them easily because BlackBerry was a sponsor, I think.
Yeah, potentially. I remember that I didn't go because I knew Drake. I just, well, it's not personally.
Oh, okay. I was like,
no,
what?
sorry. No,
You
not
missed
personally. No. Definitely not personally. I knew him as an artist.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't say I was a big Drake fan then.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, yeah. And I wasn't a big concert goer. It's actually Nav that brought me to my first concert. What was the one?
Was it Hard the City? Was it Jay and Mary J?
So that was the first like big concert, but then there's what was a hip hop festival? Rock the Bells.
Rock the Bells
was my first actual concert.
At the International Center, where I thought we were gonna get heat stroke. It was like hot.
So bodies were dropping.
Wow.
Bodies were dropping.
Jeez.
Yeah, at least like 5 people fainted. I remember.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, but whether or not I could get tickets, I don't really remember that. But I just know that I was a fan, but I wasn't as big of a fan to drive all the way to Toronto because like I, for the most part, have been working and living in like the Kitchener-Waterloo area for the last like 10 years. So for me, I just didn't think the trek was all that just to see Drake
for sure.
at the time. But then once you know Eminem,
we went every single year.
Yeah.
2015, we got fake tickets. and got rejected at the door. And that was the Meek Mill year. Like we wanted to be there because like that was when he was gonna just call out Meek. And Amit was with us too. And then we went the year after. I think he didn't go last year, but then me and Amit went last year. I think I'm done with OVO Fest, to be honest. I think
Did you go this year?
I did, yeah. And I think I'm just like I'm not a big Chris Brown fan, so seeing him live was like cool, but not my thing. But I don't know. I think Drake had a good year, man. I think Drake. I also don't want to like. It's funny because when you think about the artists of the decade, like I think I think your lovely wife Rachel had mentioned that Taylor Swift had a big year this year too.
True, I wouldn't have thought of that.
I would have said the artist of the decade for Taylor Swift. I'd say for this year, things that are not hip hop related. Well, I would say Lizzo.
Yeah, Lizzo.
Yeah, Lizzo
this year, yeah.
Lizzo killed it, and she was just named Times Artist of the Year, actually, which is really big. And then I'm going to say for a different genre of music, I would say Maggie Rogers had a huge album, more folk, singer-songwriter. Her album, there's not a bad track on the entire album.
All right.
Y'all know more about hip-hop than I do, but I have to give a shout out to Lizzo.
Yeah, Lizzo killed it. Also, we can't talk about 2019 without talking about Sunday Service.
Yeah. Sunday Service was cool. I'm not a big fan of the album.
Yeah, I heard it. I found it to be too repetitive for me.
Right.
Yeah.
I like the concept. The album was not for me. Jesus is King was. I think I've accepted the fact that Kanye's best years are behind him. I've accepted it.
Yeah, same.
And it's the same. It's the same acceptance that I have with Coldplay. Like I heard the new Coldplay album. I didn't really care much for it. I've accepted that Coldplay's best years
moments.
are ahead of the one person that still has the ability to make current music is Jay-Z. Unless Jay-Z comes out with a dud, his next album, which I don't think he will, I guess I'll be proven wrong. But 444 was such an awesome album in 2017. It was my album of the year, and I think he can do no wrong. Before we go, one last prediction. Who will be the artist of 2020, Odie?
Travis Scott.
You think because he's going to release another album and just blow up?
I think that he's on a mission for greatness.
Oh, okay.
And what was it, Jack Boys, that album?
Yeah.
I mean,
Cactus Jack Boys.
Cactus Jack, yeah. I mean, it's good and all, but I think that for me, last year when Astroworld came out, it wasn't this
so before we get, Odie thought Astroworld came out this year.
The documentary just kind of threw me off. But I see his work ethic and the fact that he is creating a different sound, in my opinion, from a hip hop perspective. We were talking about it in the green room.
Oh yeah.
About how Travis Scott and like a lot of new artists, like from a hip hop perspective, have more of like a metal type of background that they're going for. And I think Travis Scott, once again, my opinion, was one of the originators for that. But I just think that I love his work ethic. I love his sound, and I'm in love with his music, and I think that he might have a banger year.
Crazy.
And I hope Drake as well.
Awesome. Cheyenne. Well, Drake's supposed to have a new album out next year, so we'll see.
Right.
Cheyenne, what about you?
That's so tough, man. I don't even know because
Stripes over checks. Come on.
This year, I'm gonna pretend you did not say that. It's hard to say because even Post Malone having the top streamed song like Sunflower at the end of this year, I would not have predicted that last year. And then I think there was just so many surprises, but I will put my money on a female. I will say I don't know who, but there's a lot of upcoming artists and with all these new ways for independent artists to make it big and stream and licensing fees and I saw that Triller just partnered with The Weeknd and Snoop Dogg.
Yeah.
And it's going to be a huge thing in the new year. So I think there's new avenues for independent artists to come up. So I think we'll just be surprised.
Crazy. And in the studio with me currently, to kind of wrap up the show, I have two individuals that I think take the crown for being the people that have appeared on New Theory Radio the most this year.
This is my fourth. I think it's third for me.
Yeah,
it's this guy going hard.
Yeah, Paul's officially part of the Four Timers Club.
Yeah.
And it's Shimmy. You'll be there. You'll be there soon.
Yeah, three timers is pretty decent. I'm down for that. I love it.
I got Shimmy Coco Puffs. No stranger to social media. The YouTube, the OG YouTuber. Still killing it.
I still do YouTube maybe once a year, so
But no, I've been pushing a lot back on social media in general, and Instagram seems to be the platform that everyone's really
You're killing
utilizing.
Instagram, man.
I appreciate it.
I love your content. Well, he's no stranger to Square One. I saw him at
go
Square
there
One.
too much, to be honest. Square One is the popping off spot for Mississauga. No joke.
Square One's killing it.
Yeah,
Rec room,
absolutely.
food district, everything.
Yeah, that's like the main downtown area
It
at
is.
the moment.
It's bumping. It's bumping.
Yeah.
And joining us is the four-timer himself, the Identity Crisis, Paul Castro. Paul, thanks so much for joining us here.
Thanks for having me, my man.
The year-end edition that someone has a sexier voice than I do.
Yo, I was about to say that. Like as soon as thanks for having me, my man. I was like, oh my goodness, amazing.
It's like super chilled out. Like, hey, thanks,
I love
guys.
it.
Thanks, I'm here. I'm back. Boys, I'm so happy to kind of close off the year with the both of you. We've talked about a lot, having both of you guys on the air. We talked about social media and just Shimmy, you yourself took a hiatus. Now you're back into it. Yeah. Paul, we've talked about the local music scene and just how it's grown here within Peel. But I want to get both of you guys to kind of chime in on the year that was 2019. Let's talk about more from a social standpoint. Like, what stood out to you this year when it came to how people were, trends that people were jumping on, or even stuff that you saw on social that you were just really wondering, like, well, this is interesting, or why am I seeing a lot more of this? And for me, I think what stood out was just meme culture. I feel like everybody was trying to create some type of meme related to something. Shimmy, what about you?
People don't know how to meme anymore.
Really?
Because meme culture has developed so much that anyone can kind of hop on. You know? So the thing is, memeing originally was just images that had certain texts that kind of formulated some kind of like a reaction culture. But then the thing is, now everyone just places images of anything with text on it and automatically call it a meme. Which is not a meme, right? In my opinion. But then this culture has developed so much, like digitally, like everyone hops on to digital now. And I really feel like digital is literally like the next trend in itself. Like everyone should have some form of digital portfolio. You know what I mean? Because we're going all digital, like it's your resume now. It totally everything you show digitally, everything that you say you do, it's tracked now. So if you're saying things that aren't the greatest things online, IMO, you gotta cut that out, yo. It's gonna follow up.
And meme culture is a part of that because people are trying to make like offensive but funny memes, and sometimes they're just plain offensive.
Absolutely. And the thing is, like, I think because we're going digital, like, you really have to be careful what you say. Like what I said to you before, that quote, like, everything you say digitally, like, essentially you just produce the receipt for yourself.
Yeah, exactly.
So nowadays, like, all those scandals like that happen through social media, like, you really have to be careful with what you say. And if you want to become a politician or a public figure, they're gonna go back on all your digital history and records.
Sure.
And if you have, some stuff you need to put under the rug, like, they're gonna catch it, right?
Paul, what about you, man?
I think by the same token, because everybody's got access to Meme Maker and that kind of thing, I think I've seen some of the funniest ones I've ever seen this year.
Yeah.
The funniest ones, like when I first discovered memes, it was that fish, the eel.
Oh yeah,
eel.
I love that
this
one.
is what,
Yeah,
like
yeah,
5-6 years, maybe more than that.
Yeah.
But it's graduated to the point where, like, we're getting some of the funniest stuff.
True.
You know what I mean? And it's all bite sized, and it's kind of affected comedy. It's affected everything. It's in the sense that, like, everything now has to be bite sized.
Well, and that's the thing. Like, I've noticed that too, and I've noticed a lot. Like, I think I put up a post I saw online where it's like, stop sending me memes from private accounts because like
can't see it.
Yeah, I can't
Literally
see
can't see it.
But everybody now is so hung up with wanting to create like a meme account on Instagram because they want that virality. Is that even a word? Or virality?
Yeah,
like they want to be able to be top of mind. Like it's funny how when something happens, Thummin earlier showed me a meme that had to do with like Trudeau, like blackface, right? Like there's people like to jump on current affairs and try to meme the hell out of it.
Right.
Like it's just interesting to see how people are just so thirsty for that now.
Right. So then off of Paul's point, like, I love that he brought up the fact that we're living in a world where it's all like bite-sized content, because the thing is, like, we're moving in such a fast-paced culture now. Like you're saying, like, people are trying to make meme accounts. Well, in the generic perspective, that's people just trying to produce content, right?
Yeah.
So we're in a time where anyone and everyone can produce content, and because content comes at a constant quick stream, you're bombarded with it all the time.
You are.
Know?
You truly
so
are.
you need bite-sized content in order to capture attention quicker, for example, and because like you need to push more out there. Realistically, I feel you need to be pushing out content on the daily if you really want to make a difference, because people are bombarded with content too much. Like when you go through your timeline, that's who you're competing against.
You
essentially.
are. You totally are. And that's the case with anybody. And I love the fact that you kind of talked about social media being your brand, because I think people used to think about that as, oh, I'm going to go to social media and create my personal brand. But to your point, there's a lot of people I know that don't even look at resumes anymore. They'll just look you up on Twitter, see what you talk about.
Really?
Yeah, like your LinkedIn ends up becoming like amazing. Like it's nuts how that happens. Paul, what was one thing that we should not take with us to 2020 that happened in 2019?
Not take with us something that was terrible?
Yeah.
Man.
Or just something that you saw that was a trend that was like, you know what, I don't want to see much of that in 2020.
Oh man, there's a couple things, but one thing that really stands out is it's kind of within entertainment. I hope that's cool.
Oh, absolutely.
No,
within entertainment.
I love this.
Why is everybody doing a reboot or just not even just a reboot?
Yes!
Like, why is everyone doing a remake?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
where's the
no
originality?
bro. No originality.
It's because it's proven. It's box office always, the numbers don't lie, right? So they're just repeating what's been done.
Nostalgia too, bro.
Yeah,
right?
nostalgia. It's definitely a factor.
Yeah.
But do we really need that?
But no. They're obviously taking advantage of it, though, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I understand why.
Yeah.
But do we need to be doing that as content creators? Shouldn't we be pushing for something more artistic?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Shimmy, what about you, man?
Yeah, I absolutely agree with Paul. Like, the thing is, the whole reboot aspect, I was like calling out, it's not, I don't want to say full out laziness, but it's like you're not being original.
No, you're not.
You know, like, and the thing is, they do so many reboots of like Spider-Man, for example. Like, how many reboots have we had the same story told over and over with different directing or different actors? Like, but we eat it up, and that makes millions. We still buy into it.
Star Wars is a good example of that.
Oh my! Okay, so the newest Star Wars, apparently, I don't know Star Wars that much, but apparently it has nothing to do with the whole other story.
Really?
There's very like.
I heard it's polarizing.
Yeah. So the thing is, like, even that alone, like, they can just spin off a new segment and series, and the whole like cult behind Star Wars will more than likely eat it up.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
You mentioned that word polarizing. I think that is another takeaway from 2019, maybe even just this past decade.
Yeah.
We've had the most polarizing president of all time.
100%.
And I find that like they're really dividing us as a race.
And trickle down here in Canada too, man.
Oh, absolutely.
During a federal election, like people saw like a whole other side that existed amongst Canadians that we didn't think existed.
Right. And I think it's not just Trump. It's kind of across the board. There are polarizing figures popping up everywhere. And I think that is another thing that we kind of need to shun and just kind of like go back to being even keel, you know what I mean? Because there's too much, like there's way too much separation happening.
I posed this question on my IG, and a couple of responses that I got were kind of interesting. People want to see cancel culture going away in 2020.
They want to see cancel culture going away, but then why would they? Why do you think the generic people would want that?
I guess it's because everybody is finding a reason to cancel somebody, and I think it's just become, I don't know, like some people feel like it's not on fair game. Like I just finished watching the Kevin Hart documentary series on Netflix. Right. Do you think he should have been canceled when those tweets came out? I don't know.
Okay, so sorry, back to just before like we move on to the Kevin Hart aspect. Okay, just the whole cancellation aspect, I think it's fair. Do you know why? Because if you're going to be a person and not, let's say, be someone of society that brings some kind of positivity, like, you should be gone.
Yeah.
But yeah, I get it. People deserve second chances, or people live and learn. So that's why things like when something's pulled out from years ago, I'm a little iffy about it because it has happened in the past. And if you're to say that person is still like that, then who are you to say that you aren't the same person that time frame ago too?
And that's what Kevin Hart mentioned. He's like, I was so-and-so age at that time. Obviously now I've grown. Like if people don't give me the opportunity to grow or to learn from my mistakes, then what is this really, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So you got to have the empathetic aspect that, yeah, people can still change for the better, but then it's hard to say because we live in a time where I was stating earlier, it's fast paced. So we're not going to, give someone 1 year of time to be like, okay, prove yourself to be a better person. No, we're gonna unfortunately judge them on the spot. You know, it's just how the times are. But the whole cancellation aspect, no, if you say something, you screwed up, right? Like it's your fault at this point, unfortunately. Like if you're in the industry, you gotta know that what you say is a digital receipt. You know, everyone can find anything you do online. You just have to like be careful. You know?
Yeah. Paul, what about you, man?
Yeah, I mean, what can I add? He pretty much said everything. It's true. I mean, like you really do have to mind your P's and Q's. And if you're just gonna go willy nilly, if it comes back to haunt you, it comes back to haunt you. That's on you, man.
Especially like being an artist, right? Like you're going to be some form of a public figure, and like you're gonna be saying things, and people are gonna listen. You know, so I feel like there should be that form of accountability, right? Like if you're going to be in any form of spotlight, in that sense.
That's true. We only have a few minutes left. What is so when it comes to some of the trends we saw this year amongst people on social media, what's your prediction for 2020? What do you think might be the next wave, or what do you foresee happening in 2020 that people are just going to be jumping on, similar to meme culture? And Shimmy, you are the OG YouTube influencer. Let me know your thoughts.
Oh man, so we're living in a time right now in social media where we flex way too much. You know what I mean? No,
the flex is real, man.
Like there's literally 13-year-old kids that are like so embedded into.
Hey, is that an off-white face mask?
Yeah, exactly. Like I'm not gonna lie. Like when it comes to that whole imagery, like being the kids, like that's all you see. You know, you just see people having vacations, nice things, you know, materialistic things, nice cars, and that's what you think life is all about. So I feel like this is really gonna blow up even bigger. Right now, we're in the early stages. Trust, and then given 2020, I think we're just moving way too fast, and the progression rate of everything you'll see is gonna be insane, in my opinion.
The one thing I'll give you credit for is when you saw on your IG, when you posted yourself wearing that mask, you actually mentioned that you bought it from Sense on sale.
Yeah, it was yo, I'm gonna be honest. I
kudos to the transparency.
But I can tell people that I get things on sale. Like I'm a human myself too, right? Transparency is very important as much as you want to flex at the same time.
I love it. Paul, what about you, man? What's your prediction for 2020?
Paul's wearing off-white pants, by the way.
Is he?
I actually think we are, and this is across the board, I think we are ready for a pendulum swing.
Ooh, okay.
I think we are, this is the top of the decade. We are waiting for, okay, if I can bring it down to music, we're ready for a Nirvana movement. We're ready for, like, what good rock has been out there in the last 10 years.
I listened to rock and roll when I was younger, but I miss it. I miss the deep elements.
That is what I'm saying. And it's not, it doesn't have to be, it should be something completely different. Maybe it's a hybrid of what's going on with EDM and trap. But I'm not even just talking about music, because music is obviously just one sort of like part of the structure, you know what I mean? I think we're going to get a pendulum swing across the board. Everything, I think we're going to go back to minimalism.
Awesome.
I think we're going to get the opposite of what you said.
I would love that. Yeah. I would love, no. If anything, I would love for us to go back to minimalism because we're at a point where we're not. You know what I mean? So it would be much
cleaner,
really nice.
Much cleaner. You can see things better. Hopefully 2020 is the year that we can see clearly. Boom. All right. On that note,
2020.
Want to thank Shimmy and Paul for joining us in studio. Want to thank my guests. Big shouts to Ali Raza from Metroline Media, Jyoti Panu, our station manager extraordinaire. Thanks so much for giving New Theory Radio a platform on Sauga 960 AM. We love being part of Sauga 960. Big thank you to the Elemnt. Go check out their one mic taking place this Friday here at our studio at 130 Westmore. And then a big shout out to Cheyenne Gold for blessing the mic. Big shout outs to Poonum Singh. Big shout outs to my best friend Odemi Adaran and his wife Rachel for coming. Odemi will be curating playlists for New 3 Radio on Spotify and Apple Music, so look out for those. And a big thank you for listening this year. When you'll hear us, it'll be 2020, and you'll hear us next time. Thank you so much. And big shout outs to my photographer, Amit Nanwa at Colorblind Photography. He got to bless the mic as well. And yes, you will hear all of us next time. Thanks for the beers, Lost Craft. Appreciate it. Peace.
No radio? No problem. Stream us live on Sauga960am.ca.